This is going to be a video on the version 1.3 update. So there was a pretty big update. There were some changes to the machine stats along with additional content. So I'm going to be going over everything that was included in that. And just a brief over the stats that were changes from the machine. As you can see here, this was done by a Twitter account, the Oatmeal Dome. I kind of just applied it here in a more visual way. So as we all know, kind of the changes to the machines, but these are kind of just the actual stats of the machines. So kind of maybe I'll make a little more sense rather than vague descriptions of what were changed. So as we all know, the advantages of Blue Falcon finally got the buff it needed, and it's kind of a viable machine now. Fox did get nerfed a little bit. We could go over that on the courses and how that kind of impacts Fox. And Fire Stingray kind of was mostly just unchanged. So now it's kind of the machine that might need the most help at the moment. It's possible to play well with Stingray, but it's the most difficult, and it could use some defense buffs in my opinion. And Wild Goose, for some reason, got a sprint reduction buff. I guess now it's really fitting into its mold as the tank, so it's now even better at being the tank, and it's really punishing Stingray, so maybe Stingray can get the next update to kind of combat that. The main focus of this video is to go over the mirror tracks with machines to show kind of how the changes to the machines impacted the way they play, and to see how the additional stuff added to the mirror tracks are. So let me change the Fox here for the reason to show how Mirror Mute City 1 is possibly the worst track in the game because of its design. So with Fox, it's boost. I'm now in a boost state again until full speed jump pad, then boost. So I'm constantly in a boost or top speed off jump pads. And that's going to be the entire race of Fox, just being constantly at boost or max speed off jump pads, and then boost. Then you get an entire full refill from the extended refiller. Then you just do the same thing. It's extremely easy, and if you're in first place, you don't really have any hazards to deal with. All the bumper patterns extremely easy, so at the worst case scenario, Fox has to battle another Fox, and the times you get with Fox are unbeatable. So it's just unfortunately a really unbalanced course. And in version 1.3 they took away the Skyway skip, which was really fun. It was a way to balance out front-running Foxes, so I understand why devs want to fix something they consider that was a broken Skyway mechanism, but all it did is it ruined Mute City, unfortunately. So maybe there'll be different ways to change that in the future, in the way they plan on changing additional tracks if they make any, like Mute Cities. But essentially, if you have a track that Fox is always at boost or top speed up jump pads, Fox doesn't become unbeatable. I'm going to go into Big Blue next, and I'm going to change the Stingray to show off some kind of changes that were made on the track. So I'm glad that they changed Big Blue, but this one's version's better. The Mines gimmick was kind of just more of a necessary gimmick, as it mostly just helped Fox front run, which I didn't like. So this speed bumps, you gain sparks and some speed off them, and there's an alternate way to go off it. So it's kind of a nice route, and when you need extra sparks to pick up. And the alternative way is interesting. It plays out pretty well and gives you good sparks. So if you hit them all in a row, you'll gain kind of, the more sparks jump pads you hit in a row, it gives you more speed. So hitting them in the line like that, it gives you all of them right in a row. And then I'll show off kind of one other thing I wanted to add here. So with the added jump pads in the game and speed and zippers, or however people call them, you Not necessarily, it doesn't help Stingray in a way, but if you can see here, if like I hit a wall, it's really nice to put Stingray back up, even though it maxes out its top speed. So it's, in a way, it's not as good for Stingray. If you see overall, if you're at top speed, you can only hit top speed off jump pads, but with Stingray, sometimes you drop, you get hit in a bad hit, you're in the 300s, or maybe you just want extra speed, and you don't want to like panic boost. So hitting a jump pad will be beneficial to Stingray in that way. But it ends up being maybe most beneficial to the Fox, who has the lowest top speed, who hits that and kind of could have, matched Stingray's top speed. So it's interesting how those play out in the races. It can help Stingray, but and it helps all the machines kind of in different ways. Now going on to the next course, and I'm going to switch back to the Fox to kind of highlight why the zippers benefit Fox more than Stingray on this course. And it's I would say this is mostly a Fox course now, where Stingray Ocean is the original. So with the added zippers, basically it just gives Fox more of a top time to be at zipper speed, and it catches down, and it saves a boost for Fox. So now every lap, Fox can boost here and not have to drag its feet along this long curve. And at the end, when it had to boost here again, now it gets another zipper. So adding zippers is a fun element to add, especially in Sand Ocean, where there was a lot of ground being covered without any kind of zippers or jump pads. But adding them while it's fun it ends up benefiting Fox more than Stingray. So I guess I like this track. It's there's some fun elements, like at the zipper, it becomes a kind of a funnel point where a lot of action happens. There's bumpers passing through there. You get hit off the zipper into the dirt. There's fun stuff like that wasn't really happening much on the original. So I'd say I like it, but it kind of sucks that Stingray's best course kind of got nerfed for Stingray. But I know there's some interesting changes. Now going into Near Deathwind 1. This is kind of a more interesting one than the original Deathwind, which was clearly the worst track in the game. There was nothing to it, and Fox just boosted to win. Now Fox has to use a Skyway, and sometimes, most of the machines are going to have to use 2 Skyways. The only time Fox can really get away with using 1 Skyway is if you use the 999 Skyway to hover above the zipper and get a good float on the Skyway. So Fox might have an advantage because of the way you can manipulate the Skyway with the extra speed. But in general, if you make small mistakes, if you've seen any of the pro lobbies I've played on this track, it's extremely easy to rank out. Whereas before, it was kind of more, you had almost no hope with Stingray. Where now you could get at least double Skyway with Stingray and make it there, and Foxes can get beat up more. So it's a little more balanced. Gooses are going to push you off the zippers and ruin your race, but I guess that's how Deathwind goes. It's at least a little bit better, I'd say, and I like the speed and the spark bumps. Now going into Mirror Silence. So I actually really like this track a lot. They replaced the mines with permanent bumpers, so every time you hit them, you kind of spin out. It's a really cool feature. Instead of just having a few mines that blow up and that's the end of them. And you get the zipper right here, which is a tough kind of angle to hit, but it's really rewarding. So this is just a really cool track, and these all play out because there's always a traffic jam in there. So I really like Mirror Silence a lot. One of the best tracks in the game. And it's I like when there's kind of higher risk technical play, like with the zipper, and you can go across here, which is useful to do, especially if you're trying to sandbag the first lap to get the golden bumper or something. So this is just a great course, and it's a great addition to the mirror tracks. I'm not sure, I guess, how balanced it is, but it seems like every machine can win if they pull off a clean race. So yeah, one of my favorite tracks. Now going into Queen League, so now it's time to go in again to describe why Mute City is a bad track. So Mute City 2, in my opinion, is the mirror Mute City 2 is worse than the original Mute City. Because the way it's designed, it gives Fox even more of an advantage to be in a constant state of boost or top speed. So here, generally, it's a 2 boost into jump pad over the circle, which the circle was bad for Fox before. And now you get another zipper and another boost, and you're not even at depletion here. So then you get a full refill again. So then you just do the same strategy over again for all 4 laps, and if you're in first place with Fox, it's extremely easy. You could just, the bumpers and everything will kind of be in your favor. So just makes it a clear Fox track. Then I'll just show one thing here you can do. And then there's the additional thing which kind of helps the other machines. It's kind of a cool element. So if you go off the jump pad here, if you've seen before in the videos, if you go here, then use the Skyway, kind of right at that direction, you'll Skyway off and then jump onto the Skyway where the zipper is, and it's a good Skyway. So it kind of helps the other machines catch up, but if Fox has a clean race, you're not going to beat a Fox. Going into Port Town 1, this one plays out pretty interesting. I think it, for whatever reason, the races seem tighter on this one than they do the original mirror. I mean, the original Port Town 1. So the part I really like about it is the way the magnets play out the end. So let's just get over there. So this turn right here ends up being a real fun, action-packed turn, although all the bumpers will be over there, and it's really hard to dodge while weaving in between those magnets. It's hard to get the exact precision, and yeah, it's just a fun track. It's really easy to get lost behind. You could drop like 30 places by just like if you just get like that, you might just lose like a ton of places by just having a slow fumble like that. Then like a whole pack of machines just go right past you because you flubbed those last turns. So even though there's not much to that track, I kind of like this track, the way it plays out. It's fairly interesting, and it's ends up being the end of the track. Has a lot of hazards, which is fun and chaotic. Going into Red Canyon 1, we were all excited to see what they're going to do with Red Canyon 1 for the mirror version, and it was kind of a disappointment. One of the few where I think the original was better than the mirror. So basically, you must hit this jump pad and go this route, and then there's kind of just nothing really else to this course. It's kind of just a plain course, and that's kind of where the whole track is the jump pad. And there's not really the alternate route's not really a viable option. So let's go over there. I'm sure no one's ever seen a reason to go over here. So you go this direction, you gather some speed bumps, and the worst part is there's like bumpers over there, so you don't even get a clear path to go over there, and it's just not worth it. Like, you lose a lot of time. So unfortunately, your Red Canyon 1 is a downgrade and less interesting than Red Canyon 1, which was my favorite original track. I guess my interpretation might be is possibly they made Red Canyon 1 less difficult, because Red Canyon 1 was weird because it was a lot more exciting than Red Canyon 2, and that's kind of reversed now. So I think maybe they kind of made it not a pro track. Red Canyon 1 was kind of like a pro track, even though it wasn't a pro track. So maybe they just made it easier for that reason, but I don't know. It's not a horrible track, but at the same time it's just kind of bland and not much going on with it. Now going into Mirror Whiteland 1. So I was really curious what they were going to do with this one. I guess not a ton was changed, but it kind of has a significant impact. So let's get where the change is. So with Fox here, optimally you want to boost around here, so your boost continues through this dirt, and you can reach the zipper. And then you kind of have to weave in this part around the magnets and the bumpers. Ends up being like a really exciting and dangerous point of the race, especially if you're in traffic or those the bumpers are coming, and there's a notable red that comes along the way if you're in front running, which is a cool hazard, because it could just like explode you off the track, which is funny. But this is what happens if you don't have a good run. I mean, it's just horrible. You get stuck in these bumpers and it's just like a disaster. Luckily there's these speed bumps to kind of bail you out and build up your skyway, which I've had to use on occasion. I'm glad it's there. So overall this track is made very well. And what I find kind of interesting, I'm not sure if it's some kind of optical illusion or something, but I'm not sure how anyone else has been dealing with this, but for some reason, like, I do this more often now. It's like for some reason, when the track is mirrored, I measure my jump distance differently. It's probably because the jump out point is inverted, so I'm jumping on the wrong line of where the out of bounds is. But yeah, great track. This Mirror Tracks is one of my favorites. Now going into the final Queen League, Whiteland 2, and I'm going to change here for Goose for a reason to show off. So this track, I really like how it plays out with the extra sparks. Those could be important. And there's actually a change in the way the golden bumpers are. In the finale tracks, there's only one golden bumper, kind of at the beginning of the second lap. So I'll show here where there's a big difference. Normally you'd want to boost out of here, but now you necessarily can recover with those, whatever you want to call them, those wall bumpers, and they give you back up to full speed. So you don't necessarily need to boost out of that area. And now there's extra speed bumps here to pick up your extra skyways. And if you're really desperate, you can come up, you could kind of stay up top and gather more. So I mean, those are pretty hard to get, but if you need them, you need them. So I really like how this plays out. These little bumper things can be one, especially that one's a real nuisance. You hit that, especially if you're in traffic and getting bumped, it could really mess up your last stretch down there. So I really like Mirror Whiteland 2. I like how it plays out. It's a good track, even though the Skyway shortcut was taken out. You can still take a pretty good Skyway around the double hairpin. So really great track. Now going into King League. So I'm going to switch here to Stingray for a reason. And Mute City 3 ended up kind of being the Mute City Redemption. Ended up being actually the most interesting Mute City. You got zippers to start on the left and the recoiler to the right. And alternate pathing just makes tracks more interesting. And you kind of decide, how you want to play the track. So, and it's another interesting portion up here. So I'm going to show why I'm Stingray. And there's this strategy right here where you just jump off the jump pad, and you can boost over the speed bumps for extra speed, and it's just an extremely fast section there, Stingray, if that's where you want to use your boost. So I mean, instead of just doing the normal 478, going over these at 478, if you can see when I was jumping through the zippers with the boost, you just get a crazy high speed in like you know, if that's where you're utilizing your boost, you can really get ahead of people. So there's more options for different vehicles now, which just makes the track more interesting. But it's gonna be really difficult to beat a Fox here because it still ends up kind of just being Fox boost, then max speed. But people are getting more skilled with utilizing those. Plus, you get sparks, so maybe it'll play out in the future to be more interesting. See kind of more competitive times with front-running Fox. So yeah, I mean, like if you're Mute City, I'd say it's a pretty good course. It ends up having interesting races. So Mute City 3 is the best Mute City for the mirrored ones. Going into Deathwind 2. So this is actually a big change up. They kind of eliminated the kind of it from being a zipper track, and now there's just kind of it just plays out differently. It's got the wall bumpers, which don't really play that much of a role, but can bail you out at times. But as you can see here, you know, there's no zipper on the first corner and do all this. You just kind of got to weave your way around, and there's some jump pads here, which Goose will probably knock you off of. Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting change of pace for what Deathwind 2 was. So I'm kind of having myself a little bit difficult time of figuring out the pacing and how to do it. It seems like the best Skyway is like right here, so you use it there, then you get the cut over the area to get some float time on the Skyway, and then you're probably, if you're extra behind, you'll get a Skyway all the way up to, you know, the refiller here. And it's kind of planning out on your pathing. If you're going to get one or two Skyways, it seems like the later Skyway ends up being better because you can't hold the front run, and then people end up Skywaying over you. When there's definitely more hazards here, which gets difficult, and it's really easy to get knocked around into these walls. I mean, you just get bashed around here. Luckily, there's some bailouts, but it's pretty chaotic and it's a difficult course. I'd say I like the course, even though I haven't done particularly well on it. I'm kind of figuring things out and which position to be in and what lap, you know, and all that stuff still. So I like the course. It plays out differently. It's interesting. Going into Port Town 2. I think everyone was going to be scared about what they were going to do with Port Town 2, but I guess it's not too scary. It's probably the maybe it was one of the most difficult tracks in the game. Probably still is. These areas just have the extra wall bumpers here. I guess the thing that changes a lot is this area is just a lot more dangerous with these, especially if you go in here and you hit these. It really messes you up, and it's hard to get around these corners. So sometimes you can end up being pinned on the wall, and you just lose a ton of time. And yeah, I mean, it's just a lot easier to lose time in that very difficult spot, especially if there's bumpers in there. And it's, I guess the key point is kind of when you use your Skyway. A lot of times it's right here, depending on what the leader is, or you would have to use it after the first magnet if there's no basically lead between you and first place. So otherwise you use it even further back, and then you'd skip all the way to here. So that's kind of like you have to plan out your Skyway, and a lot of times Fox now actually has to use a Skyway, especially if it's a pro lobby. You're not going to get away with an easy front run. So I guess not. You know, it's not like doesn't feel too much different than the original Port Town. Some changes, but you kind of have to play the same way. And it's just Port Town 2 is just a well-designed track, so it's still a really good track. Like going into Mirror Red Canyon 2. So if you heard me speak about the original Red Canyon 2, is one of my most hated tracks. I just thought it was very boring, and it always got picked for some reason in the pro lobbies. There was just nothing to it. I thought it was actually possibly even more boring than like a Mute City. It was just like these two turns, and then in the original there was just nothing. Like you kind of just drove, and that was like it. And then there'd just be like bumpers at the end, which kind of cut you off, and it was just it was more of like you're racing against red bumpers than anything to do with the track design. So I just did not like the track at all. You can see here in this Mirror Red Canyon, a lot changed. So I mean, this is a lot of excitement here. So right after this turn, you could choose to boost, and then you could do a boost cut here over there. So you know, it's a technical skill to use, which like the original Red Canyon didn't have. Then there's two options here. We want to probably play it safer on the jump pads or cut over the speed bumps where everyone's going to be collecting the Skyway. And then to the jump there where there's a small ramp with two mines. And if you saw over the weekend when I was playing, a goose nudged me off the ramp, and that was the end of my race. So I mean, it was just high excitement and kind of higher skill than original Red Canyon 2. It's a really fun track, so this was a great addition to the mirror tracks. And going into the final track in King, so it's Firefield. So everyone was kind of wondering what they would do with this one. It's already the most complex course in the game. So they replaced the mines with the permanent bumpers, which is fun. And they added some other stuff along the way here. So right here was kind of a boring spot before, and now they got a zipper. And going into here, now you have mines and these permanent bumpers. So, there's a lot of hazards right after each other. And this whole entire path here now is, the midsection is covered with these spin bumpers. So, you see everyone hitting them, bouncing around and stuff. And this whole scattered field here, you get a nice boost to get back to full. So this is a really action-packed fire field now. And there's kind of the same principle of you want the later Skyway, and if you've seen me playing the GPs lately, I'm going for a third or fourth lap Skyway. Then right before that zipper right there, you launch your Skyway, and if you're a Falcon or Fox, you get the 999 Skyway, which is great, and you end up going all the way past here, and if someone's in the lead, you'll go past here and go past all the way over here. It's like land here. So I mean, the Skyway is pretty much essential, and just like it was on Firefield before, but it's kind of the added thing with the zipper. Now you get the 999 with Falcon and Fox. And I guess I haven't seen too much how it plays out with Stingray and Goose, because I haven't been them a ton or watched as much video of them, so I'm not sure which is considered the favorite. I know it's possibly Falcon, just because Falcon handles so solidly and has a higher top speed overall than Fox. I'm not sure what a perfected Stingray run looks like before. I know before Stingray was the only machine that would get the sub 3 minutes, and now a sub 3 is kind of doable with all the machines, with how it plays out with the zipper and all the extra added stuff. So I think it's still some time will tell, and how this plays out with all the machines as people get better and utilize the extra stuff added to this track. So it's a great track. I really like it. I like a little more, it picked up the pace a little bit more now that there's a zipper, and the bumpers in the middle of the row add an extra hazard, even though it's already difficult, so it's just extra fun. So I really like Mirror Firefield. It's a great track. And another thing that was added in version 1.3 was you get the classic mini Grand Prix, and you get to play all these for the time trials. So, that was a great addition, and it's always a fun thing to play when you just don't want to do on-run races or perfect a track. So it's great that those were added. So now the only two tracks in the game that don't have time trials are the secret tracks, which whatever you want to call them, White Wind and Fire City. So those are really fun tracks. It'd be cool if they were eventually in time trials, or possibly, we always hope more secret tracks are added and kind of add different elements to them, because those two specifically ended up being really good tracks, and I hope the developers kind of keep on the trend of making unique and well-designed tracks like those. And to sum up my thoughts on the version 1.3, I think that was a great update. I like most of pretty much everything they did besides eliminating the Skyway shortcuts. I guess they even changed the Classic to be a little more balanced now. It changed the starts, so the back line doesn't get as fast as starts, so now even the accelerating machines get a faster start, and the back bumps, you get less speed off the back bumps. So Falcon's a very viable machine, even though it's not going to be necessarily the fastest on the tracks, but just how it plays out, Falcon can win races easier. Fox is still kind of garbage on Classic, but it's you could play other machines now, and it's at least a little more fun. Before it was kind of a Stingray Classic, which is fun if you play Stingray, but now the other machines can play. It's probably a little more interesting for everyone. Then my thoughts on how mirror tracks were developed with the additional jump heads and zippers, and how it plays out. I guess one thing that I don't like, as I mentioned before, is adding jump heads and zippers in certain ways. It benefits Fox more because of how Fox plays with its boost, and it kind of just could be a top speed or boost the whole time. So that's kind of a huge Fox advantage, and I think it just ended up hurting Stingray more, even though Stingray can have the recovery from them, not have to panic boost out of it or be stuck in the 300s. Ideally, those if you're having a clean race at top speed Stingray, you're kind of Fox is getting the advantage over you then. So that's kind of one negative to making courses more interesting with more jump heads and zippers, and but with the speed bumps and stuff, and the way how the Skyways kind of adds more to easier to get Skyways, it balances out that factor a little more. I guess one thing I would say could be possible buff to Stingray is maybe Stingray can get like Sparks gives Stingray a quicker Skyway or something like that, so it would be able to catch up in that way, because Stingray starts in last place and has to catch up that way. So I think that's kind of would be that mechanism to change to make it more balanced. Overall, the version 1.3 update with the 15 tracks was really great addition to the game. Adding these new tracks, even though they're mirrored, just adding some different elements made the game really interesting and seemed new. We had to relearn stuff and learn new patterns to do stuff, so it's been a lot of fun and interesting to play out. I did notice every time a new Mirror League came along, I'd play it and just get destroyed, because I was kind of playing by sight, and I was just making a lot of mistakes, whereas the original ones I was in such a pattern of recognition that I was basically I could play with my eyes closed, because I knew where everything was going to be, when the boost and how to do everything. Then the mirror tracks kind of made it so I had to relearn new tracks and play tracks differently, and I'm still learning at the moment. It takes some time, and like I said before, there's still tracks where I don't feel like I have it figured out quite yet, like Death Wind 2. I don't really quite have my pattern down, especially playing with all the machines. I have to kind of develop strategies for 4 different ways. The Mute City 3 with the multiple viable strategies, and that ends up being interesting because you can do a bunch of different things. So the mirror tracks added new ways to innovate the tracks, whereas before it was kind of kind of in my set pattern of I knew how to play every track, and I was gonna, I was gonna play it this way, and that's how it's gonna play out. But your track's been really interesting. Some little more, adding some other elements to tracks to make it more difficult and you screw up more often, like in Whiteland 1. Like eventually you're just gonna mess up getting the zipper and squeezing between the wall and the bumper, and you're gonna hit it. So it's adding extra difficulties like that. Or if you're real brave, you want to do the silence zipper cut during the GP, in your last race. So yeah, Mirror's been overall, I really like it, and I hope developers continue to add new stuff to this game. I guess my wish list would be, I know, well, everyone's wish list is Ace League, but I guess for me, I don't have any necessarily nostalgia for that because I never played it, even though I watched it and it was cool. It's got different atmospheres to it, and the tracks seem kind of cool, and there's little complexities to them. They're a little more complex than some of the originals, besides, I guess, Mute City 4, which will probably play out with the Fox. But what I'd want is more of a conscientious way of track design to make it so they're not Fox, boost, and max speed at the whole track. So boost, jump plate into the zipper or something like that, so they don't get just free Fox wins. So I think there's ways to develop tracks like that. Like Port Town 2 is that way. It's got ways with its turns. Turns benefit Stingray, so Stingray actually gets an advantage, even though it's still a difficult win to do. But it's actually one of the rare moments where Stingray actually gets an advantage over all the other machines. So it'd be good to have more tracks like that where there's a better balance. In adding the speed bumps and stuff was a good balance because Skyways benefit the machines, and if there's ways to do that, I mean, that'd be the great implementation of additional tracks. So maybe the additional secret tracks will be made in a way so they're balanced to all the machines, or if just not, maybe there should just be a Stingray favored one, like the original Sand Ocean. So Stingray deserves at least a track where it has the advantage. So I really like the Mirror update. This game's a lot of fun to play, especially in the events, playing with the top players, and so more content always makes the game more interesting. So hopefully there'll be some more in the future.